it's not entirely accurate to say that the last 19 months have been hell for everybody. Nah, man, we were all scared. Even I was scared. Well, because it limits you, it's more accurate to say the last 19 months have been hell for some people. But for other people, it's been awesome. This lady just said, it can't be game over. I ain't going out like this. If a particular perspective is kind of messing you up mentally or emotionally, you might want to invite different perspectives in.
What is it that I'm actually looking for?
Do we really know life?
Sure. Let me say intelligence. Emotional intelligence, social intelligence, financial intelligence.
So I believe it's important for each and every one of us to understand the rules that govern any arena of your life.
You are listening to The Revenge of the Forsaken Gods, a podcast that explores the human experience and seeks to create a blueprint for living using books, stories, movies, and conversations. And here is your host, Andrew Balongo Opere.
All right. Yes. Welcome to the Revenge of the Forsaken Gods podcast. And today I'm very excited because I have a guest who is returning to the podcast for a second time. So that is a very huge privilege. And my guest is someone that I respect highly because apart from being a wellness and leadership coach, an executive coach, a life design coach, she considered herself a lover of stories, laughter, and adventure. And one of her interesting taglines is, "Go make that dream." And the thing that makes me just so excited about my guest is she's very powerful when you engage with her one-on-one. But apart from being very powerful and assertive, she's very vulnerable. And I think that's the qualities that just has allowed her to thrive as a coach, especially during these times of the pandemic. And I'd just like to ask her a little bit about that. And how is it that she's been able to thrive? This combination of being powerful and vulnerable really doesn't really exist in our regular business conversations, even conversations in media. So I want to unpack, how has she been able to do it? And how has her 2020 and 2021 been during this pandemic? Because she's told me that her business has actually been thriving. So without further ado, the person that helps you go make that dream happen, the coach and director of the Main Protagonist Coaching, Cece Ojany-Bekhor, welcome.
Andrew, you're so funny. You make me laugh. I'm really excited to be back here. I enjoy how you do your podcast. The name, I remember I told you when you were first launching, I said, "Oh man, Andrew, that's such a cool name, Revenge of the Forsaken Gods." So thank you so much for inviting me back. I really appreciate this.
Yes, I'm honored. And in fact, I notice you post a lot on Facebook and LinkedIn, and I just like to talk about your recent post because it was so powerful. You mentioned that I read the other day that there's no such thing as stagnation. A thing is either living or dying. Oh wow, that's just so powerful. Would you mind just sharing how did that come about, and why did you share that?
Yeah, so thank you for engaging with me online. I often say to people, Andrew, that if I didn't have, if I wasn't running my own business, I probably wouldn't be very active on social media. So for me, I have a healthy relationship with social media, and it allows me to reach all the different people who might benefit from my message, because many years ago, I was that person searching for teachers, people to help me. And I found a lot of them online, So for me, the internet and social media have been a blessing. Now, that post it's inspired by the same thing that inspires all my posts. I listen to people's stories for a living. I help them problem solve. I share my own stories with my own coaches, my own teachers. They help me problem solve. And one thing I know for sure, Andrew, is whatever you're going through, others are also going through it. Not everybody on planet Earth, but there are enough people going through what you're going through, such that if you just share honestly, it will resonate. And I get that feedback a lot about my social media posts. People will DM me, when I meet people face to face, they'll tell me, this is both men and women, people from different parts of the world, different cultures. And it's not magic. I'm just being honest about what's going on for me. And that resonates with everybody else that is experiencing that thing. So the post I recently shared, the one you're referring to, is about parenting and leadership in the workplace. Because as busy leaders, we often struggle with, okay, how can I be a present parent? How can I be the cool, awesome parent I always imagined I would be, while being busy creating and making things happen in the world of work? And what I've come to realize, Andrew, is number one, the importance of accepting who I am. Okay, the importance of accepting who I am. And that is always changing, right? We grow, we change, we learn. Right now, who I am is the kind of a human being who loves being a mom. I love being a mother. You've met my daughter. She's so cool. She's only 4 years old, but she's a cool kid. And I'm using the word "and" quite deliberately. And I'm also someone who loves to work outside the home. I love my job. I love my business. And so it's not helpful to feel guilty when I'm not at home. It's not helpful at all. And so what I decided to do, even as early as 2 years ago, when my daughter was only 2 years old, I would tell her where I was going and what I was doing. So from a very young age, she knew that I talked to these people called clients, right? And I remember there was a time, this is so funny, she put her hand to the side of her face as though she was holding a phone. And I said to her, "Mama, what are you doing?" And she says, "I'm talking to a client." And I burst out laughing. And I've made peace with that. I believe I'm a good mom. We'll see when she's older if that's true. But I believe I'm a good mom. I'm present with her when I'm present with her. And I talk about my work. Sometimes when I'm having a face-to-face Zoom call with a business partner, for example, she'll come in to stand next to me, and like one of my business partners in the UK has seen my daughter many, many times. So I'm not hiding and creating false separations in the different areas of my life. And I also talk to my daughter about what her dad does. Her dad is an architect. He talks to her about what he does. If there's a building that he was involved in that we pass as we're driving, he'll tell her that's some work he did. And we say, this is Mama's kazi, that's Baba's kazi. And everywhere we go, we'll go to a hotel. We went to a farm the other day, when we're in a mall. And I'll just explain to her that that's a certain type of kazi. This is another type of kazi. And for the non-Swahili speakers, kazi means job. Because I would love for my daughter to be inspired by work and to not dread it. And so that was what that post was about. Sometimes as parents, we pause our lives for our kids, and then your kid grows up and you're left bereft. Like, oh, what do I do now? And that was a post for any parent who has paused their life for a bit too long, or maybe has paused a project they've always wanted to work on for a bit too long because they're a parent. It happens a lot for moms, but it happens with dads too. I've coached a lot of really decent, awesome men who do feel that pressure of, I've kind of paused some things and I'm feeling some type of way about it. So that's what that post was about. And I have no doubt, I'm not the only parent who has felt that, thought that, wrestled with that. So I was just sharing openly my own experience.
Yes. And you've mentioned so many powerful ideas, but I just love you to unpack what is identity and how can someone get to define who they are, and why the power of adding "and"? Because you mentioned that, and I see it has allowed you to experience life in a different way compared to if just someone says, I am just the coach, but I only work indoors, or I'm just the coach that works indoors, full stop, but not the coach that works outdoors and does all these other things.
Yeah, the identity question. That's a big question. What I know is your identity is always changing. Your identity is always changing, and we need to give ourselves permission to change our identities. So, for example, there's a client of mine who's pregnant at the moment, and we were having a conversation around how you change as a person once you become a parent, once you birth a child. And you need to grieve the old you, because there are parts of you that will die once you become a mom, a parent. But there are also parts of you that will be birthed. And that's the thing. Like, some things have to die in order for other things to come alive. Right? So, for example, a very basic but common example is, when you're in your 20s and you're partying and clubbing, and this is all pre-pandemic, right? And you're staggering home at 4 a.m. or whatever the case may be. And that's cool. I did all those things and I have absolutely no regrets. But there comes a point, Andrew, and this happened to me, where I realized, okay, I want to get serious about my work, my career, what I'm building, what I'm creating. And so it becomes not a good idea for me to be out till 4 a.m. every evening, So that fun-loving, happy-go-lucky 4 a.m.er clubber person had to die. But what was birthed was a different Cece, a new Cece. I find different ways of having fun. And yeah, every now and then I'll go out till late, but I'm not wanting to jeopardize the work I need to do the following day. So identity is a dynamic thing. It's ever changing, and people need to give themselves permission to change their minds. And a lot of super successful entrepreneurs, for example, give themselves that permission. They started company X, and that company has grown, and they hand it over. So one of my clients, for example, recently handed over one of his babies. He's no longer the CEO. He's handed it over to somebody else who is trustworthy and can steer the ship in the right direction, because he wants to play another game, creating another company. And that's really cool. That's really cool. Your identity is always changing. When my daughter was 10 months old, our relationship was a certain type of way. She needed me more. But now she's 4 years old. She goes to school. She has friends. She watches cool shows like Peppa Pig and is learning from them. So I'm engaging with her differently. Identity is always changing. I like to say to myself and to my clients that black and white thinking is dangerous. So in as much as you can, it's not easy always, but in as much as you can, try and avoid the word but and just replace it with the word and. Yeah. I am African and a human and whatever, middle class, and I also have problems, and I also need help, and I am also powerful, and I'm a mom, and I'm also somebody who likes to hang out without my kid sometimes. It's women are not given permission to say that, but I'm giving myself permission to say that. So that word and is so important. I am content and grateful, and I'm also pursuing new adventures. I am happy, and I also have some difficulties in my life, and that's more honest, don't you think, Andrew? Don't you think?
Yes. It's very
it's
honest.
not I'm happy. Yeah, it's not I'm happy, but I have this other terrible thing happening. It's I'm happy, and I also have this other difficult situation I'm going through. And it captures all of who you are. And human beings are complex. I recently watched the movie The Eternals, Andrew, and that was a pretty good movie because I did not think there were any cliche characters in that movie, which is a big deal to say.
Yes.
But I'm getting ahead of myself. Please carry on.
Yes. Now, there's so many, powerful gems you've mentioned. I can see what you're meaning as a practical application of giving yourself permission that when you add and, it allows you to honor the desires that you want to try and cultivate, which sometimes growing up or in our environments, we might not be given the opportunity to express that permission. So I do thank you for giving your clients and us permission to try and explore those things in our hearts. And in fact, I just like to point out that as fellow storytellers, we will be using a lot of storytelling techniques which might not be used in the regular world. So these techniques are free to be used in your life in order to expand where you'd like your life to go. And you mentioned something.
Yeah.
You mentioned something powerful, which I'd just like you to clarify before we start getting into speaking about how the pandemic season has been for you. You mentioned that black and white thinking can be very dangerous. Would you mind sharing how it can be dangerous?
Well, because it limits you. It limits you. So again, I'm getting a bit ahead of ourselves here, but it's all related. If you think about the last 19 months, or let's just say 2 years, right? Mm-hmm. Just under 2 years. If somebody said, how, you called it the pandemic season, how has this pandemic season been for you? Andrew, it's been busy and exciting and excruciating and saddening and on and on and on it goes. It's been all those things that might seem contradictory, but it's the truth for so many of us. We've had crappy experiences in the last 19 months, and we've had awesome experiences in the last 19 months. I've had clients who were let go of, right? They lost their jobs, and 3 months later got better jobs, paying them more money. I mean, I now have such a deep clarity around how seemingly paradoxical life can be, but it's not a paradox at all. That's just how life is. Yeah, that's just how life is. And black and white thinking limits you. So for example, one of the things I've shared in the group trainings I've done, Andrew, is this. It is not accurate. It's not entirely accurate to say that the last 19 months have been hell for everybody. It's more accurate to say the last 19 months have been hell for some people. But for other people, it's been awesome. And I've actually had clients tell me, Andrew, it's been the best time of their life.
Wow.
Because, yeah, I know. And I can still hear this particular lady's voice in my head as I'm sharing this with you, because people have dropped so many things that were not healthy for them in the last 19 months. Relationships that were not healthy for them have ended. People have left jobs. I got a text message from a client just yesterday saying, oh my gosh, Cece, I was in this group meeting and I never thought that I could be exposed to such powerful, amazing people in this country. And I just laughed. This woman got this job in this pandemic season. I mean, black and white thinking limits you. So say, for example, I spent the last 19 months saying, life sucks. That is going to prevent me from taking actions that can change how my life is going. But if I say, all right, this area of my life is sucking right now, and this other area is going great, and maybe I need to catch up with people whose life is going great and learn from them, then magic can start happening for you. So for example, the lady who was lost her job, she had the wherewithal to call me and say, yo, help me. And poof, we got her another job that was paying her even more. And she got to work from home. So she was hanging out with her kids. I mean, it went from darkness to brightness in the space of 3 months or less, actually.
Wow.
But you see, that is somebody who, even in a tough time, there's a little voice in their head going, not all is lost, call this lady. Not all is lost, do this, take this action, try that, do this, do that. Okay, so for me, that's what I did as well. Andrew, I've made new friends in this season from different parts of the world. I mean, I've always had friends from different parts of the world, but business partners, for example, in Europe, that wasn't happening before 2020. And we've worked together for now 2 years, one particular partner I'm thinking about from the UK. And we train and coach teams spread out all across the world. And it's been so much fun, right? And, you know, I was working online before 2020. So at least there was a bit of continuity there for me because I have clients that are not based in Nairobi. But I just embraced it. Yeah, let's do this Zoom thing, man. Let's do this. And so you mentioned earlier that my business managed to thrive, and it's because of reasons like this. It's that, this is tough, and there's a way through. So let me figure it out. Does that make sense?
It makes so much sense, and I'm just humbled to see how I'm listening to my body as I hear that and I'm not feeling any negative thing going out. It's just like, what else could possibly happen? And it's not looking at it from like what could possibly go wrong, but leaving possibility for opportunities to happen, like the way you've shared.
Yeah.
Like, I love how you've answered this question. It answers the black and white thinking question perfectly, where, if I was fired, I'd probably say, oh gosh, I'm fired. What will I do? What can I do? There's no money coming in. It's a pandemic. No one's really hiring.
It's a pandemic. We're not that one. That right there, Andrew, that right there.
And you've mentioned...
You lose your job during a pandemic, Andrew, and you can't even go out to network. True. So now what are you going to do?
Yes.
This lady just said, it can't be game over. I ain't going out like this. And the rest is history, Andrew. The rest is history. She's really, really happy now. And it's not to, you know me, I'm not a, fake cheerleader type coach. I really don't like that. Come on, you can do it, girls. You can do it, boys. I'm not that cheerleader-ish coach. When the ish has hit the fan, the ish has hit the fan, and it's important to acknowledge that. Yeah. So March 2020, you'd be lying if you said, no, I was just positive from the beginning and it's been an amazing 2 years. Nah, man, we were all scared. Even I was scared. So again, you can use the and to capture all the emotions. I am scared and I'm going to keep going. I don't know what to do next, and I'm going to have to figure out what to do next. You know what I mean?
Yes, yes. And what you've shared, in
Yeah.
fact, just ties into, my next question, and also the question I had after that was, how did you react when it first hit in March 2020? I guess you mentioned that you had already started having online interactions, so you're grateful for that. But, just talk more about that, and also what have been people's key concerns during this time?
Yeah, those are good questions. Well, here's the thing. Like everybody else, I thought, oh shoot, this is interesting. This is interesting. But I am not afraid of change as much as other people are. And there's something about leaving employment and starting your own business that makes you a bit of a ninja, whether or not the business fails or succeeds. There's something about constantly putting yourself in a position where there's change happening and, fear of rejection and being actually rejected and wins and losses. My resilience was built over the years. I don't want to say I built my resilience because, yes, I took some actions, but there were other players involved, like my coaches, my teachers, just other people I interacted with, even people who I got no's from. Those are the people who really build your resilience, right? So my resilience has been building over many, many years. And I have to say, Andrew, I could see the effects of personal development, both life coaching and business coaching. I could see the effects on my life long before the pandemic, but it really dawned on me how significant it was to have taken those steps in the last 19 months, because I'm still in the same house I lived in pre-2020. My marriage is still intact. My daughter is healthy. I still have my sanity. I'm still working. I'm still able to laugh with my friends. And I put that down to all the personal development work I did over the years. And this is why I'm such a warrior for people receiving coaching. Yeah, they say the time to dig a well is not when you're parched. You need to dig the well in advance so that when you get parched, you just go, oh, let me go to that well. And I'm telling you, and I have this conversation with so many other coaches, Andrew, we had to dig deep and even find practices we had dropped because we thought, oh, we've outgrown this. So I had resources. And I was chatting to another coach. I remember this so clearly. I was in my car. It was late at night. And she and I have this in common. We both like the nighttime and the stars and the moonlight. And I just driven home right before curfew. And we were having a conversation. And she said, aren't you glad you have the tools to deal with this season? And because we've done a lot of personal development work together. We were involved in constellation therapy, for example, last year. We were invited by a friend of ours to learn from her guru last year. And so, sorry, not last year, I should say in 2019. And she says to me, this lady, Caroline, says, aren't you glad that you have the tools to deal with this season? And another fellow coach, a lady called Jane, said, had this happened many, many years ago, she doesn't know how she would have handled it. But because of all the years of personal development, she's handled it. So to answer your question, yeah, I got scared like everybody else. In fact, my husband and I actually got into a fight a few days later, like an argument. And I could see that it was fear-based. It was about money. Because before March 2020, you looked at your wallet and went, wow, yes, this is good. And then things changed and you went, hang on a second, is this going to see us through? So it's amazing how things can change very rapidly. And as my husband and I were arguing, my husband's a really cool guy. We don't argue often. We've grown and learned how to engage with one another in a healthy way. As we were arguing, Andrew, I could see this is a fear-based argument. And I gave myself the grace and I gave him the grace because this was a new situation. We'd never been in a situation like this before. The world had never been in a situation like this before. So I remember he decided to go out just for a bit of a walk, just down the street. Because remember, we couldn't wander wild, free and wild. We couldn't roam around the way we used to. So he went for a very short walk. And that was the best thing he could have done because it gave him space, it gave me space. And when he came back, we were just like, look, this isn't helping. Let's just figure this thing out. And we sat down, we figured it out. And we were like, okay, look, we had all these plans to invest in this, invest in that. Let's just put that on pause. We became even more intentional about how we manage our finances. And that's a plus that has come out of this time. But the thing is, Andrew, there's something interesting happening now to people who were busy working during the pandemic season. Many of us are experiencing a burnout. And my burnout hit me in April of this year. And it was like a slug to my chest. It was just like, whoa. And that's the thing with burnout. It just creeps up on you, right? And you realize you're burnt out too late. And I heard a lot of people saying the same thing. You know, I'm running on fumes. So there's this other weird thing that has happened to people who were incredibly busy last year. And a lot of the leaders, well, 99.9% of the leaders I work with are in this situation where they became even more busy, even more stressed. Yes, you're grateful you have a job and you're also really, really stressed. And the toll it has taken on our bodies. I remember talking to a leader in HR who said, once the restrictions eased up a little bit, she started going to the physiotherapist and he was like, whoa, your shoulders are like rocks. And I too developed a body stiffness, Andrew, and it's because of all the sitting down I've done in the last 19 months. I'm a very physically active person. I used to walk around everywhere. I live in a neighborhood where I can walk to the mall, I can walk to the shop, I can walk to a cafe, I can walk to, and now I'm just sitting, staring at the computer. So I went to see a reflexologist that was recommended to me by a former client. And even he was shocked. He says, your body is so stiff. What is happening? You're only 40 years old. What is happening? And I explained to him the nature of my job and how, group trainings are now all online on the computer. And so these are some of the things that are happening now to even people who've been busy and who've found a way to thrive as best they can during the pandemic season. And so when I realized I was burnt out again, right? This is that whole identity thing. I now have to stop and go, this is interesting. I'm the wellness coach and I'm burnt out. But I gave myself that grace, Andrew. I gave myself that grace. And I spoke openly to people about it, right? Because, what are we hiding? What is the point of hiding? I'm not bulletproof. What I learned from all that was I have to up the ante on my well-being. Because I was doing all the well-being things I always do, Andrew. You know me. We talk. You see my social media.
Yeah.
I traveled to the coast. I got my R&R. I went to Amboseli. All these things. But I needed to up the ante on my well-being, meaning I needed to do more because this is an unprecedented time. So if you gave 90%, you now have to give 150%, right? Because it's coming at you from all angles.
Yes.
Yeah. So again, that is just something I shared openly and honestly, and people are like, yep, resonates.
Wow.
To answer your second question, you said, what have people been concerned about? Well, different coaches have different answers. For me, I work with leaders, as you know, male and female leaders from different parts of the world. They were concerned, of course, about their health. So, some even got COVID very early on, and they made it through, thank heavens. They were concerned about their sanity, because you still have to deliver results. Yeah. Never before have leaders of a certain age been put through the ringer like they were put through in the last 19 months. And it's still ongoing, because now people are figuring out, are we going back to the office? Are we not going back to the office? What's happening? They were concerned about producing results, even though they're going through a lot of stress. They were concerned, obviously, about their well-being. I've been singing the well-being song for years, but it really hit people in the last 19 months. Yeah, I really do have to look after my well-being. They were concerned about, of course, their kids, educating their kids. Those who had elderly parents were thinking about their elderly parents. I have an elderly mom. You're always thinking about that when you go visit. I had to really reduce the visits to mom, even more so. I mean, yeah, tough times. That was what was concerning the people I worked with. And of course, they were also concerned about their direct reports. And I reminded those who had forgotten that, hey, you need to be concerned about your direct reports, because you're dealing with a different beast now. People are working from home. Yeah. You need to create the kind of team where people can produce results, even though they're not in the office, sitting at their desks, tapping away. And I'm happy to say a lot of people found themselves to be even more productive. But compassion, which is something I've been teaching about for a very long time, really came to the fore. You have to get interested in how your people are doing. Yeah, because people are still going through it, Andrew. People are still going through it. People have lost loved ones. So they're still going through it. So if you come at people with the, why isn't this done? And da-da-da-da, and all this sort of thing. I would say the last 19 months would be when people snapped.
Wow.
I have a client that took a redundancy package and everybody was shocked. But yeah, it was the right thing to do. She was just like, yeah, peace, I'm out. Took a break, found herself another job. And the rest is history, as they say.
Wow. And you've mentioned something very interesting about we're now having to deal with a different beast. And
and I mean that in a positive way.
Oh yes. As storytellers, the hero will always encounter the beast and different villains and different opponents. But what marks a hero?
Different allies. Yeah.
Yes. But what helps a hero overcome the beast and any opponents are the tools and the allies and the help they get. And as you were, just sharing some of these tips, you mentioned a lot of tools which, probably non-coaches might not be aware of, or maybe even, like you've said, some people might have these tools, but they've forgotten about them. Would you mind just sharing some of the tools? Because you mentioned something that maybe some of us may be aware of or not aware of, like you mentioned about constellation therapy. And also maybe in your, with your, being bulletproof.
No, I'm not bulletproof.
Yes, I'm
not
just,
bulletproof, Andrew. It's really important that we don't send that message.
Yes.
Not bulletproof at all.
Exactly. There tends to be a correlation that when you're successful, you're bulletproof. But I'm glad, like I mentioned earlier, you're very vulnerable to tell the truth as it is. Maybe what techniques could you share as a result of how you are able to navigate your argument with your husband? Because you mentioned something powerful, being intentional about finances, which is a very challenging topic. So yes. So what tools could you share? What tips can you share when you're having an argument with whether it's a loved one or a colleague or a boss, something that can help people get on the
let
same
me
page?
just share tools in general, not necessarily tools for when you're arguing, because a lot of them apply across the board. The first one is deep breathing, Andrew, because especially when you're stressed, you start to breathe shallowly. So one of the things I do with clients is I run them through a meditative practice where you're not sitting there quietly observing your thoughts, although that's helpful as well. You can sit quietly, take deep breaths in through your nose, out through your mouth. Notice any restrictions, for example, in your chest area. Yeah. Because tension makes it difficult to just breathe fully, breathe properly. And so you just breathe in deeply, in through your nose, out through your mouth. And it's a steady breathing. It's not a forced, hard breathing. And you feel the seat against your butt. You feel the seat against your back. You feel the ground on your feet. So this is a really powerful exercise to help you get present to where you are physically located. Because what happens, Andrew, is you'll read an email, it will upset you, and your mind will take you far, far away. But the reality is you are in your home or at your desk, you are safe, you are fine, you are not in danger, there's no leopard coming to attack you. So getting physically present is very important because it helps you put things into perspective. So you just keep breathing deeply in through your nose, out through your mouth. Notice any tension in your body. You know, Andrew, if your shoulders are always coming up to your ears, that's tension. You need to drop your shoulders. And I know this so well because that's something I used to do, Andrew. A counselor pointed this out to me over 15 years ago. When your shoulders are coming up towards your ears, that's tension. You need to drop them. You need to drop your shoulders. So just notice where there's any tension in your body. Keep breathing deeply in and out. And then you can, and it's good to do this with your eyes closed, and then start paying attention to all the different sounds you can hear. So this is an auditory meditation as well, auditory of the hearing, AUDITORY. Just start listening to the sounds you can hear. And no sound is a bother. So if there's a bang, bang, bang because of a construction happening next to where you are, that's fine. If you're hearing the chirps of birds, like a client of mine did the other day, that's fine. So it just calms you down. This exercise is so powerful, Andrew. I was speaking to a client some time back, and she was pregnant at the time, and her baby was jumping up and down before her session in her belly. And she did this exercise, and the baby became still. And even her, she was shocked. And I'm like, yeah, your baby is fully 100% plugged in to what's going on with you, mom. It's a very powerful exercise. People will do this exercise in their homes, in their offices, the same places they've lived and worked for years, and they will notice something new. Like, oh my God, I'd never noticed those birds. And then I'll encourage them to open their eyes. So you open your eyes. Remember, you're still breathing deeply in and out. Open your eyes and slowly look around the room you are in and just notice. Notice the colors, notice the patterns, just notice things. And again, people have been in rooms for years and they will notice something new. So that just helps you get calm. Now, the thing to do is don't save this meditation for when you're stressed. Practice it at least twice a day so that you can start building that muscle, as they say. And so, Andrew, years of practicing this meditation is really what helped me to see, as it's happening, that my husband and I are arguing because we are both afraid because of this unusual situation that has just happened. And because of that, you don't get caught up in the argument. You don't now start with the, you're always rude to me and you're always mean to me, and because now you're getting caught up. But if you just stay focused, if you just breathe, you actually have access to more resources. Like You start thinking a bit more clearly than you would otherwise. Yeah. And that's what I'm saying. My husband had the wherewithal to just leave the house. And by the way, it was a very short argument, right? It got intense very fast. It was short. It didn't go on for hours and hours and hours. So that's number one, something that can help you. Number two is get the help. Therapists, counselors, coaching, we've studied these things. And you didn't study them in school, did ya?
No.
Get the help. Now, some people are lucky. They have organizations that pay for them to get coaching, to get training. But even a 2-day training is not enough. Get the ongoing help and learn different tools. Yeah, another simple thing, Andrew, is get out, get some fresh air. It's a sunny day in Nairobi today. I've already been out. Like it's morning now, but I've already been outdoors. The wonderful Karura forest saved so many people in this pandemic season. Every time I'm in that forest, and I've been going there for years, and it was really nice to see more and more and more people coming to the forest the last 19 months. And we thank the heavens for the great Wangari Maathai for saving that for us. Talk about a legacy. You're not even around and people are benefiting because of your hard work. Get out into nature. Even those people who say, I don't like nature and da, 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 da. Get out into nature. You don't have to stay in the forest the whole day. You can just go sit for half an hour, just breathe deeply in, just go for a walk by yourself. 20 minutes one way, 20 minutes back. It doesn't have to be so involved, but get out into nature, the peace, the quiet, and the trees. The trees. Nature helps us. Andrew, nature helps us in so many ways, not just the beauty and the silence, right? Nature helps us in so many ways. It's very grounding. One of the things I started doing, Andrew, in this, we call it the pandemic season, is I started riding bikes again. So at Karura Forest, you can hire bikes. And I was like, I'm going to start hiring bikes and I'm going to start riding. And I felt like a kid, and I feel like a kid every time I do that. So instead of just going for a walk, I'll go straight to the bike hire corner, ride a bike, and just whoosh around the forest. And it is so much fun. And I've taken my little daughter bike riding as well. She loves it. Yeah, so these are just some of the little things you can do. Now, exercise is another one. Yeah, I've been working with personal trainers for years. Again, during the pandemic, it was, oh my God, thank God I remember some of the things I learned from my personal trainers. Because now we have to work out from home. Yeah, we got lucky. We could work out downstairs because the compound I live in is small. We're not like many people falling all over each other. So people could go downstairs and just kind of work out. Yeah. So it all adds up. It all adds up. So there are these sorts of tools and so many others that come in handy in everyday life. Andrew, that's a really interesting thing. There's a lot of stuff I taught in the last 19 months that I was always teaching before. So they stand the test of time, which is really, really cool.
Wow, that's really
Makes sense?
That's really powerful. We take for granted the small things that we learn, during, like you said, regular time. But when it hits the fan.
Ish hits the fan.
That's when you start seeing the usefulness. And maybe would you just mind sharing just maybe for someone who's just beginning or starting to be aware of the personal development space, what have been some of the effects? I know you've probably mentioned it, but just what has the effects of personal development helped you as you've seen now during this pandemic season?
Well, yeah, I mean, I've already shared some of those impacts, resilience. I was able to pivot and just go, oh, okay, we're not meeting face to face. All right, I guess it's, Zoom group sessions. Let's do this. Reacquainting myself with PowerPoint, which I had not used for a very long time. I stopped using PowerPoint and started using Canva. And no, ladies and gentlemen, we are not being paid to promote these products. I'm just speaking openly and honestly because I'm so grateful. Andrew. Imagine if we did not have these online tools. Imagine.
True.
But, I jumped onto platforms like canva.com, started creating presentations from there, nice looking, bright looking presentations so that, people cannot, feel so dull during the online session. Thank you for WhatsApp audio. We say a lot of things about, Facebook. I'm sorry, the meta universe, as it's called now.
The metaverse.
People say a lot of things. The metaverse. People say a lot of things, but call a thing, man. How many of us were saved by these online platforms?
A lot of us, yeah.
How many of us were saved by these online platforms? iTunes, iTunes, music. Another simple tool that you have available to you. Music changes your state instantly, right? And I had my playlist, Andrew, my exercise playlist, Pato Ranking Essentials on iTunes. Hallelujah. Somebody at Apple went, hey, let's gather all the hits of all these artists and create playlists and, so that people can enjoy them. And lo and behold, that's the thing I go to when I'm working out at home, right? I mean, now I'm out and about, the curfew is lifted. We're obviously still masking and sanitizing, but I'm out and about more. But really, the power of music to alter your state, and music is really special because it alters your state immediately. It's like it bypasses the thinking mind. Yeah.
Yes.
Some of the tracks that really got me through the last 19 months were, I really loved, the album Beyonce released, Lion King, The Gift. I really liked the song King already. I think everybody needs to listen to the lyrics of that song, particularly men, actually. She's talking to you in that song. It's quite interesting. Good old Jay-Z and Kanye West, their album, Watch the Throne. I went back to that. I'm like, ooh, I haven't listened to this in a while. I really liked it. I would listen to that. My daughter was watching Frozen and Moana. So I'd listened to those soundtracks and it was just fun being a kid again with her. I really like Moana. It's The Rock. Dwayne Johnson plays this character called Maui, and it's just really funny because The Rock's voice is so distinct, and you're just thinking, this is so funny. That's The Rock, and he's singing really well. And my daughter and I will sing the tunes, and now when we're in the car, if I'm going shopping or to drop my dry cleaning or whatever, we'll listen to Frozen, we'll listen to Moana. I really enjoyed watching those cartoons the last 19 months. Nas has, man, I tell you, some creatives really took advantage of the downtime, quote unquote downtime. Nas, for example, released 2 albums and I've been playing them on repeat. King's Disease, so deep. I said the last time we talked, Andrew, I love hip hop because of the storytelling. And there's some pretty amazing storytelling in there. And there's a particular song called Rare in King's Disease 2 that I just love. I love that song. He seems like he's in a happy place, and I'm drawn to people who seem to be happy. But music is another really easy resource to reach for, no matter how you're feeling. Yeah.
Wow.
Answer the question in a roundabout way, but
No, it's not a roundabout, but it's very powerful, and it seems you've sort of entered part of my favorite part where I like asking, what are three
Oh, I
books, three
forgot.
movies, three songs? So, since you've already
I
started
jumped the
with the
gun
songs,
again.
since
No. But here's the thing. Gosh, it's been so long. When did we do the last interview? Was it 2 years ago?
I believe so,
something?
yes.
Wow. That's another thing, Andrew. That's another thing. It's time. Time is a bit skewed, right? Like I'll find myself saying last year, and what I really will mean is 2019.
2019.
I was contacting a guy I know, and he was like, "Yo, it's been 2 years," and I went, "What? Has it been 2 years?" An old client of mine, contacted me. He wants to do some sessions, and I hung up the phone, and I thought, "Holy moly! It's been 2 years since me and that guy have talked, but it doesn't seem like 2 years." So it's funny. Time has become a bit warped, right?
True.
Yeah.
So before we
carry on, and sorry for jumping ahead, but music really, saved me. It always does.
Yes.
Saves a lot of people. That's why people listen to music in the car,
That's true.
It just puts us in a certain mood.
Everywhere we go, there's music in the elevators, there's music in the mall, there's music in the public transportation. Okay, let me not assume. In Kenya, in our public transportation, we're very privileged to have music blaring as we go to work or wherever it is we're going to. So, yes. So, I guess let's... now that you've mentioned a lot of stuff, you've mentioned a lot of the changes you've made, a lot of the things you've seen, and you've mentioned also the things that have helped you stay sane during this time, the tools and techniques you've been using. What are the things that have remained the same? And what did you change in your life? I know you've touched a little bit, but you can just be specific.
Yeah. Well, some things changed, not because I wanted them to. My husband and I stopped hosting friends in our house. We just weren't sure how people would feel. And I really missed that. So slowly, we've started doing that. But that's part of soul food for me. And I didn't realize how much I'd missed that connection of hosting, cooking for people, laughing, and all of this. One of the other things I realized, Andrew, is I am one of those people, and there are many people in the world who are like this. Travel is such a joy for me. It is such a joy. Meeting new people, learning about new people. And I really missed that. When the pandemic hit in March 2020, that first 3 months, I was like, actually, this is okay. Stay home. It's cool. We have been running around a bit too much. Let's stay home. By December 2020, Andrew, I realized, holy moly, I miss meeting new people. I miss seeing new things. I just love this planet. This planet is so beautiful, and I've learned so much traveling. And so I did miss that. So, hopefully that'll happen in the future, maybe starting next year. Let's see how we go. I know a lot of people have started traveling already, but for me, I haven't left Kenya in the last 19 months, hoping to travel in December to South Africa, which will be really nice. Just, have a break, see something different. I just got more clarity about a lot of stuff. Some relationships I wrapped up, and that was a good thing because they were kind of hanging by a thread anyway. So I wrapped those up. Not many, because I'm happy that I'm surrounded by awesome people. But there was just a lot of clarity, a lot of clarity around. I don't have the bandwidth, and many people, Andrew, realize they just don't have the bandwidth. They're in survival mode. They're in figuring stuff out mode, and so they just got a clarity around what drains them versus what nourishes them. Of course, the masks, the sanitizers, we did all that. I got a lot of clarity around I was clear before the pandemic, but I would say I got more clear about the sorts of personalities I want to be around. I became more courageous, Andrew, with boundaries, just saying, hey, I'm not engaging with this, I'm not dealing with that. Became a lot more courageous. And thank goodness our bandwidth just became short, because we were putting up with a lot of stuff on an individual and collective level, putting up with a lot of stuff we were not okay with. But because we were distracted by life, party, go out, this, that, the quiet made people see a lot of things very clearly. It was nice being at home with my daughter, and her nanny in a previous job had been a teacher, so that really helped. Again, so grateful for platforms like Khan Academy Kids. I mean, I found myself playing around with that app because it's just so cool, and the kids learn so much. And I shared that on my social media, and I said, hey, this is really working for us. If you have kids above a certain age, jump onto this platform. Until today, we still, play on Khan Academy Kids. There's creativity, logic, stories, reading. It's super cool. But it was nice hanging with our daughter and her being home. And it's also nice her being back at school, because she really thrives in school. I have to admit that homeschooling was not an option. I mean, it was an option, but my husband and I didn't want to do it. We didn't want to do it because, number one, we're not trained teachers. and I have a very high respect for teachers. As you know, I identify as a teacher, and my dad was a professor, and my grandpa on my mom's side was a teacher. So for me, I didn't lie to myself that, I can do this. It's easy. I can do this. Nope. It's a skill. Teachers are trained people. So it's good that she's back in school, and things like chess, Andrew. She's 4 years old, and chess is compulsory at her school.
Wow.
I couldn't have taught her that. Yeah, I couldn't have taught her that. So I'm really happy that she's back at school. So there's that. And again, Andrew, I'm glad we got a chance to hang out at home, and I'm glad she's back. It's not, but I'm glad she's back. It's, and I'm glad she's back. My gratitude practice got deeper, and grateful for the simple things, Opere. Here in Nairobi, well, it got really granular. It got really simple. Like, wow, I'm grateful the weather in this country is not so extreme that I'm stuck at home in the thick of winter and depressed. I'm here in Kenya, we never went into a full lockdown. Kenyans use the word lockdown. We were never in a lockdown. We had curfew. There's a difference. And I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for that, because it meant people could still charge ahead in some way with their work. It wasn't a complete shutdown, because we just can't afford it the way this country has been built, for better or worse. So grateful for that. Grateful I'm married to a sane person. Because I tell you what, Andrew, the last 19 months, hey, people really got to see, do I actually like this person I live with? Because now we're hanging together all the time. But my husband and I have we're friends. We've been friends for a minute, and it was cool. It was cool. It was cool just chilling at home, watching movies, It was cool. So the gratitude got really granular, because we can say things like, I'm so grateful I have a lot of money to travel the world. But in the last 19 months, it was, I'm grateful that in Kenya, in Nairobi, we have developed a system of delivery where the guy on the bike can just come and deliver my stuff. Yeah, that really helped us in the last 19 months. My usual writer guy was busy, and I was so happy for him. I was so happy for him. A friend of mine said, isn't it ironic? Our writer guys are busier and pilots are at home. Isn't that ironic?
True.
Grateful for the very simple things. Grateful for my mind, my creativity. And like I said, Andrew, grateful for these online platforms that some of us have been trashing since day one. And now you realize, oh, wow, actually, thank God for PayPal, So yeah, the gratitude got really granular. And my husband said something to me, Stefan said something to me last year where he goes, isn't it a good thing that there are solutions to how to curb the spread of the pandemic? Isn't it a good thing that we've realized we can wear masks and we can sanitize? Imagine if there was no solution. Imagine, Andrew, if we were told, listen, stay home. We don't know what we're going to do, but you just stay home. We're figuring it out. But that's not what happened. We were told, stay home. And if you leave, wear a mask, sanitize your hand. Thank heavens for those small but significant solutions. Imagine if we were told, we don't, like in the movies, we don't know what this is, just stay home. We will update you at a later time. It could have been like that, but it wasn't like that.
True.
Right? Yeah.
So true.
Simple things. Simple things. Grateful for Netflix.
Yes.
Grateful for Netflix, Andrew,
We'd have never seen this coming, Netflix. I bet even Netflix never saw it coming.
They never saw it coming. Like, wow, thank God there's high quality storytelling that I can watch from my laptop, from my home, from my phone. So it's that Andrew, say what you want about big corporations. And yeah, some of them have, done some pretty not so great things. But some are just trying to earn a living like everybody else. And hey, let's produce some great movies for you and you can watch and be entertained and all of that. So grateful for strong Wi-Fi, Andrew. What would I have done if I lived in a country or a city that didn't have Wi-Fi? That would have been a wrap. I'm not going to call a client in Thailand using the regular line. I'm going to call a client in London. Like, how? I'm not going to run a workshop using my phone.
True.
Yeah, just grateful for things we had taken for granted.
Wow. And with all that you've experienced with these 19 months, what are you looking forward to towards the end of the year and for next year? What has this prepped you that you say that I would like to experience this next year?
That's a really good question. Well, my in-laws have not seen their granddaughter in 2 years, and that was sad. Because they were just getting to know her. They last saw each other face to face when she was 2, and we went to the beautiful Watamu Beach here in Kenya, and they had a blast. And I know they were looking forward to hanging out some more. Because unfortunately, Andrew, a lot of young kids, they didn't really dig this whole talking on the phone, online thing. They don't, doesn't make sense to them. So I'm looking forward to her connecting with her grandparents, her Australian grandparents. She does love them. They do love her. And it's really, it's going to be exciting when they do catch up again. That's going to be cool. And I'm also looking forward to seeing them. I have a long history with my in-laws. My husband and I have been together for a long time. So just to give people context, they're in Australia. So yeah, that was the real lockdown over there. And so I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to traveling again, but with new eyes, more gratitude, moving a bit more slowly. If I am lucky enough to go to another country, just moving a bit more slowly and just really looking at people, not in a weird way, but just really like, wow, you're Vietnamese, that's so cool. And wow, you're Italian, that's so cool. And wow, this food is great. And I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to releasing my memoirs. I took advantage of the last 19 months to finally get help. Started working with a writer, and I'm authoring my memoirs. I turned 40 last year. See, there I go again with the years. I turned 40 this year. let me not age myself. I turned 40 this year, and a lot of people have ideas of, my 40th is going to be big. It's going to be amazing. And I was one of those people, and my 40th was so because it was January and it was pandemic, and we were not being given the vaccine at that time. I mean, the few people who could come came, but it just wasn't the same because so many people I love. I couldn't have a party, basically. Well, I could, but I didn't have a party, basically. So who knows, maybe my 41st or my 42nd. But what's really interesting, Andrew, is I had a big 39th birthday. And I remember thinking, how funny. I call it my Indian wedding 39th birthday, where I had 3 different parties for different groups of people. And I remember when I turned 40 thinking, wow, that's so weird. Why did I have a big 39th birthday? Anyway, it happened that way. And here's the thing, right? Celebration is for whenever you can. Don't wait for the 40th, the 50th. Celebrate your 23rd birthday big. Celebrate your 37th birthday big. Don't wait for, it's our anniversary, babe, let's do something special. No, do something special tonight. Go to a restaurant, have fun, just love up on one another, And these were truths even before the pandemic, Andrew. They were true. This was the way to be anyway. So I'm looking forward to launching my memoirs sometime next year. It's dedicated to my daughter. I hope that women get inspired by my own story and the insights I will share in the memoirs. It was an extremely cathartic experience, and it gave me the ability to look at my past differently and to give people who I had judged and criticized grace. Grace, Andrew. People are just living their lives and doing what they do. It's not about you. We make a lot of things about us, but it's often not about us. People are just going through their stuff. And I got a chance to remember the last 20-something, 30-something years. And it made me do things like go back to the home I grew up in. My mom is still there, and look at that house so differently. And I remember the last time I went there, I was like, wow, thank you, house. Thank you for sheltering me and being a safe place physically. Because, it's a pretty safe, nice neighborhood. It's not to say my childhood was idyllic. I went through some of the challenges that many of us go through, doubting yourself, not feeling seen, not feeling worthy. But those are all just stories. And this process of authoring my memoirs has helped me to see my past differently and to remember the adventurous choices I've made. So it was a very, very cathartic process. I also started developing my online course. That was supposed to have started early 2020, but that paused just, in the busyness of pandemic season and doing things online. I'm looking forward to launching that course next year. Multiple courses actually next year. So it's just nice working on that. Just looking forward to reconnecting again with friends, people I haven't seen for so long. Andrew, are you there?
Yes, I'm still here. Yes, can you hear me? Hello, Cece?
I think I lost you. A bit. Could you hear me?
Yeah, I could hear you loud and clear.
Okay, cool. I was just saying, I'm
Your
looking
course.
forward to and reconnecting with some people I haven't seen in a long time. And curfew has been lifted here in Kenya, Andrew, but people have changed because you'll be driving around at night, like past curfew, and the streets are still quite empty. So Nairobi, the party city, has not gone back to what it used to be. And I find that really interesting. I asked Uber drivers, hey, have you noticed a change? They were like, no, I think I just got used to going home at 10 p.m. So that's really interesting. I want to see how that goes.
Yes.
It made us take more advantage of the daylight, which is a good thing.
I'm so anticipating your memoirs next year, and hopefully we'll have a conversation before your memoirs are released.
Yes.
And yes, before we sign off, I love asking, what are 3 books, 3 movies, 3 songs that you've been listening to, during this period? And I think you've mentioned a lot of songs. So I think you've covered the song parts, unless there's something else you want to add before going to the books or movies.
Well, the songs, I think I already shared. The music was as always, so helpful.
Yes.
In terms of books, read a fantastic book called Happy Money, Happy Money by Ken Honda. And I did his course online, just added another layer of developing a healthy relationship with money.
Yes.
I lost a good friend, unfortunately, in Melbourne this season. And when my dad died many years ago, I started reading the Tibetan book of the dead. And it sounds really morbid, but it's not a morbid book at all. It just starts off with the premise that, you're going to die. Why don't you live well? And why don't you die well? And here are some tips for how to do that.
Yes.
And so I couldn't finish the book when my dad passed away all those years ago. And when my girlfriend, Pam, passed away, and I'm saying her name because wherever Pam is, I'm sure she's smiling down on me. There was so much love between us. I picked the book up again. And the reason I picked that book up, Andrew, is because I know Pam is in a much better place. I know that for sure. And, I believe that. Let me say, I believe that.
Yes.
And I started asking myself, I remember I was driving, and I asked myself, Cece, what are you so afraid of? Because you believe Pam is in a better place. And for the record, for those who don't know, I'm a firm believer in reincarnation, past lives, all that kind of thing. That's a conversation for another day.
Yes.
But I was asking myself in the car because I started feeling sad. And I asked myself, Cece, what is it you're really afraid of? Because Pam had a full life. You told each other you love each other all the time, so there are no regrets there. And I realized I'm afraid of the unknown after death. And that is why I picked up that book again. It's been sitting in my Kindle for years. I picked it up again, and it's very deep and it's very technical, and really people should just read it. I can't do it justice. So I'm moving through it slowly.
Yes.
And I also got back into the autobiography of Maya Angelou. I'm currently reading the last book, which is Mom and Me and Mom, where she talks about her relationship with her mother, which is really, really cool. So those are the books I got into. I also started reading an explanation of the Bhagavad Gita, which is such an amazing book, an explanation of the Bhagavad Gita. And that has been amazing, right? It's been put together by the team at an organization called Bhakti Marga. And I attended some classes that they ran in 2019 on the Gita, and that was really, really powerful. A friend of mine invited me, and I'm just really grateful for that. In terms of, what was the other question? Movies, I think, right?
Yes.
The last 19 months, Andrew, I have prided myself on watching fluffy, light-hearted movies, which was another thing that really helped a lot of people because we were going through so much. You're going to laugh. I actually really liked Kong Skull Island with Samuel L. Jackson. Let me tell you, anything with Samuel L. Jackson, I will watch. But it was just lighthearted and fun, and I enjoyed watching it. I went through all the Fast and Furious movies again. That was always fun to watch. But recently, Andrew, my husband and I have started doing something we used to do a long time ago when we were in our 20s. We've gone back to watching movies in the cinema.
Yes.
And it's been really, really nice. So like I mentioned earlier, I watched The Eternals, and that was just really great. And I'm not going to give away any spoilers, but I will say this. I really like that in The Eternals, the diversity is natural. You know, that's the kind of world I live in, a very diverse world, different cultures, different, genders and all of this. And The Eternals is really cool for many reasons, one of which is, the black guy isn't the black guy in the movie. He's just a guy.
Yes.
The gay person isn't a gay person in the movie. They're just a person. The woman is not a woman in the movie. She's just a person. And the characters are just doing their thing. And that was really refreshing to see. And then I watched, of course, Dune. Dune I watched with my husband, and he has loved that book from the moment I met him in my early 20s. So
Yes.
It was really nice. It was a full circle moment, like, let's go watch Dune. And he knew all the characters and this and that. That was really nicely done. And the standout, though, for me, and this happened only a couple of weeks ago, was The Last Duel. Which is Ben Affleck and Matt Damon partnering up again. And I loved Good Will Hunting. I loved that movie. Those two are pretty awesome when they get together like this. And The Last Duel is really powerful because it's a story told from different perspectives.
Yes.
And as a coach, somebody who works as a coach, that really resonates strongly with me, because the client will come and they'll share their perspective and they'll believe that that is the truth. And it's your job as a coach to say, hey, there are different perspectives. Let's interrogate that, because if a particular perspective is kind of messing you up mentally or emotionally, you might want to invite different perspectives in. So The Last Duel is a great movie, and Ben Affleck is really good in the movie. His character is great.
Yes.
And Adam Driver, of course, is also amazing. I love stories. I love storytelling, and I really enjoy going back to the movies because it's something I hadn't done in a long time. So again, some things are resurrecting themselves again. Other things are new. But yeah, that's been some movies, books, and all that I've really enjoyed. And in terms of TV series, I've just had a mental blank. I was watching this thing on Hang on a sec.
Okay.
Oh my God, it's the one about the kid who becomes a drug dealer. Oh God. The kid who becomes the drug dealer and he partners up with the CIA. Snowfall. There you go. My husband and I really enjoyed watching that. And again, if you look at it from a storyteller's perspective and from a mature perspective, the more mature you get, the older you get, the more you realize, and you and I have talked about this, Andrew, the more you realize the villains are complicated. Yeah. And it's not just black and white, like, oh, you're bad, you're a drug dealer. You see how this kid and why this kid became the way he is. So we really enjoyed watching Snowfall, and I'm looking forward to the next season.
Wow. Any other TV series that come to mind?
No, not really, because I don't watch a lot of TV series. I mean, there's a limited series recently done by Gwyneth Paltrow called Goop. That's, the name of her newsletter. That's been a really powerful series that it's a very recent one though, so I recommend people check that out. But also Jada Pinkett Smith's Red Table Talk, that was fantastic. It continues to be fantastic. Yes. Just honest conversations between a mom, a daughter, and a grandma. That's been really, really powerful.
Yes, it's been very eye-opening just to have all these perspectives aired out on one table and having all the emotions go through, whether the mom agrees, the grandma doesn't agree, or whether the kid doesn't agree, it doesn't matter. But what matters is these conversations are being said, so everyone's learning. Oh, this is how your world is operating. Oh, this is the kind of emotions you're going through. So that's what's humbling.
Yeah, that's what's humbling. And there's a particular, I mean, the episodes are very, very powerful, but one of the really powerful ones was when Will Smith, her husband, took over the table and had a candid conversation with Kevin Hart about manhood, celebrity, work, life, all that stuff. I'm actually really looking forward to Will Smith's biography, autobiography. I'm definitely going to get that, and I'm going to read it because he's already being so candid. It's very, very moving, very inspiring. And King Richard, the story of Venus and Serena Williams' dad. I remember being a kid in the living room when those girls were young and they burst onto the scene. And I remember my dad sitting in his chair and me sitting in opposite and watching and just going, wow, this is so cool. And my dad really admired them. So yeah, I'm looking forward to watching King Richard.
Wow, that's very
But
powerful.
yeah, I think that's it from me, Andrew. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you so much for your ear. I really do appreciate it.
Yes, thank you very much, Cece, for gracing the second time that you've come on my podcast. I'm honored. And do you have any quote or any last words before you sign off? I know you've mentioned so many gems.
Well, let me just go back to my usual. It's an oldie and it's a goodie. Give yourself permission. Just whatever it is you want to do, personally, professionally. Don't wait for anybody to say, yeah, go ahead and do that. Just give yourself the permission. That's how I live my life. I give myself permission. So for example, I have given myself permission to go away in a couple of days to a beautiful part of the country, just by myself. I'm going to enjoy being around trees the room is next to a river. I've just given myself permission to do that. So give yourself permission, guys.
Wow, thank you very much. From
Thanks
the coach
so
that allows you, giving you permission to go make that dream happen. Yes, if you have loved this conversation, please send out a tweet to Cece. Where can they tweet their appreciation to you? What's your Twitter handle?
So on social media, if you look for @Coach Cece Ojany, so on Twitter, it's @Coach_Cece Ojany. I have to admit, I'm not on Twitter that much, but you can find me on Instagram. I love Instagram, Coach Cece Ojany-Bekhor. So you can find me there, and also on Facebook. Just go @Coach CECE OJANY. If you just Google that, you'll be able to find me. And of course on LinkedIn, Cece Ojany-Bekhor as well.
Yes, thank you very much. And again, I've been honored to have the non-bulletproof, powerful, and vulnerable, extraordinary coach who is collaborating with people from all over the world, from the UK to Kenya. Oh my goodness, I'm telling you, the awesomeness of this woman cannot be encapsulated in a book. You just have to be around her to feel that magic. And again, I have been honored.
Thank you for saying that.
I've been honored, Cece.
Means a lot.
Yes, everything that you've shared with me, your words, of whether it's of encouragement or friendship, they're still held in my heart and they still guide me. And the people I've spoken to who you have coached share the same sentiments. They've said equally the same. And hopefully through this, people will get a taste. And if they would like to sign up for coaching, what should they do?
Thank you for asking. Go to www.themainprotagonist.com. Have a look around my website. You can see how I help leaders like yourself, male, female, different parts of the world, how I help you and your teams. Go to the podcast. There's a link to the podcast on the website. And you can click on Contact Cece as well. And for those who don't know, I call my business the mainprotagonist.com, not because I'm the main protagonist, no, but because I wanted to remind everybody that you play the lead role in the story of your life. You are the main character in the story of your life. You are the main protagonist. So that's a little bit of background about that name. Yeah. Thank you so much, Andrew. I've really, really appreciated this opportunity.
Thank you, Cece. And have a great day.
You too. Bye. Asante sana.
Bye-bye. And you have listened to the episode of The Revenge of the Forsaken Gods, where I have hosted the coach Cece Ojany-Bekhor, the director and coach at themainprotagonist.com. Stay tuned for more episodes like this.